Good evening, and this is our third session for Enterprise Architecture Course 873 in Business Process Architecture, Business Process Development of Models. And with that said, I do have a set agenda that I would like to go over to stay on topic. And the first one is review of project team meeting schedules per team. I am going to switch to Canvas right now. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to modules. And what I did was down here, I had a previous file that was nothing but a roster, a print screen off of the projects submodule from people, just a print screen showing the teams by number, as well as, more importantly, the members assigned. What I did was I expanded this with meeting schedules. So let me call this up, and I will give you the rhyme and reason for it. Okay, so the first page didn't change because the only thing I did was expanded this file, but this is what I did. Each of the succeeding slides represent a team. So if I go to the second slide, this is project team 1. And the reason why that I put this together is here, they've decided Monday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. And so I note this here. Then what I did was I have the dates here where my cursor is placed on. So for every Monday throughout the semester. And when we look at their meeting on 9/12, I did a copy and paste of the conference here. So basically this is a record, but it also helps me to go back and say, okay, it's 9/19. Now here's a link here. And so what I would like each team is to populate. Well, first of all, use this column here to, let me go to number 3. Use this column here to say what day and the times. Then chart out the specific dates. So if you're meeting every Wednesday, just put, the specific date. And then if there is any links to, say, a WebEx or a Skype, or you're using Canvas and so on, provided here, or if it's just a simple conference number that you could provide me with, if you decide just to have that. This way, I could join, okay? So each team should fill out. So this is team 2 rather, team 3, team 4, team 5, and then team 6. But let me go back to team 1. Do you see this column here, guys? Project/due dates. The reason why I put this here, and these are links back to the module. The reason why I placed this here, so this way you guys will have visibility into the fact that, okay, right now I'm working on project 1. I know the deliverable is October 2nd. So I have a series of I should have a series of 3 status meetings with Nick, as well as maybe offline meetings from Nick with my team to work, but to actually produce some work together if we had to, okay? So this column here was meant just to be a marker. So instead of hopping back to the modules, seeing, trying to, or to the syllabus and trying to understand the date when project 1 is to be completed and delivered, you could just work in the confines of this for your projects. Project 2, it's 11/16. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weekly meetings, status meetings with me. Project 3, a total of 5. So this was meant to be one-stop shopping for you guys to communicate back to me any specific links, conference numbers. You would populate it to the corresponding date in this column. This was also meant to keep you guys focused on one page instead of hopping back to the syllabus as well as the modules and so on, because this link here goes directly back to the module. So do you guys think this is helpful?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I did not want to get crazy and say, okay, well, let's develop a Microsoft project plan. That's just overkill. For this purpose, where you guys, where the teams are working with me collaboratively on specific dates for status meetings, I think this is sufficient. And again, this was meant to keep your eyes focused here instead of bouncing back. So if teams 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, if they could get together and fill out their own, that would be good. So then this is a, let me go back to modules. So basically what we have here is, it's just a good dashboard. Let me use the term dashboard for visibility, for me to join you, for me to know the date, as well as join you with a link or conference phone number, as well as to keep you focused on that instead of bouncing back to the syllabus or the modules. So that's item 2. I wanted to go over that and ask each team, in this case 2 through 6, to please use that as a means of communicating back to me. The second item is access reading using Adobe Digital Reader. Okay, let me go to Canvas. And this was a question that Wishaw presented to me. So if I go here, and I go here, okay, I get this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying access using this link is no longer valid. I'm saying, what's going on? This says click here to return. Common sense says it's, well, if it wants me to click here for me to return back to, it probably means Canvas, right? Where I initially took the link. But that's misleading. If I click here, I get this up here. Now, if I download this, which I have downloaded this over here, then I could access, let me just minimize this. Wait a minute. Let me go back. If I click on that here, which is the book, and I say read online, so it loads a book, okay? So, but now I want to download it to my own digital library that's residing on my desktop. If I go download, I get this here. Then I hit download. And at this point, I'm going to say open. Or let me, say open. If I go here, then this comes up. So this is where I'm adding it to my library. Keep in mind, I already downloaded the Adobe Digital Content Management System. I'm going to say I want my computer to authorize without an ID. Next, authorize, and say okay. And it's downloading content. And now this content is residing in your in that Adobe Digital Content Management System. So now I have everything here, nothing missing. And I could create individual bookmarks within the document itself. Let me see. The reason why I'm going through this, because I have not used Adobe Digital Content Management System. But as I was going through this, to resolve any issues you may have with links, I stumbled upon this, so I did some research. So I'm going to exit out. And see, it's in my library. So if I go back to my library, see, it's here. So the content is in this content resides in my Adobe Digital Content Management System. So if you want to use this content management system to do the download, or you just want to view online, you have that option. So was there anyone familiar with this technology? Oh, okay. Okay, Josh, thank you. Okay, Jamal, okay. This is good. So, so that's to ensure that you won't get these weird errors, like for instance, the one I got, which was the link, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. The link's not working or it's broken. Click here to return. That's very, very misleading. Let me go over another aspect. If I go to announcements, this over here is a link. Okay. If you need to search for a specific, say for instance, one of the links do not work, and it is valid. Just say it's valid. You could go to this link here and do a content search across multiple research libraries, and it will give you either the new link or it will give you the content itself that you could download. So that's scenario one. Scenario two, if you want to do additional research, well, let me see if there's articles or maybe there's chapters of a certain publication that would address integrating orchestrated workflow with business models. in my overall business process architecture. You could search and you'll get echoed up to your screen a bunch of links, either to content or online content. So I placed this here back on August 29th. I don't know if you guys were aware of it, but that's okay. That was my fault for not bringing it up in last week's session. Is that a good resource, guys, for you? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so now let's go to the third item, which was projects specific to project 2. Project 1, I will take questions and we could review project 1, but let's go into project 2, because project 2, there were artifacts that I created in the spring for H73 when we only had 2 projects. But project 2 was I created several key artifacts to help the teams get past trying to develop some sort of maturity assessment model. I did that. You know, I'm a senior fellow at Carnegie Mellon without sounding vain, and I have a whole bevy of things that I've done, methods that have been published, models, and so on. So my thought was, why drive the students crazy? Why not give them industry standard methods and models and actually help them develop one, which they helped me develop this, but at least they had a frame of reference. So that's why I'm going over project 2 with you guys, okay? So let me go to Canvas, and I will go to modules. And please, guys, if you have any questions, stop me, please interrupt me. Okay. And if I'm sort of off the wall, guys, I'm on my 20th cup of coffee. With that was 6 espressos. So, so please bear with me. Okay. So let's go to project 2. Okay. So in this case, just bear with me because I'll sort of read the words verbatim. That's just to set the logic, not only to myself, but to you guys as well. So in many organizations, enterprise architecture models are created to support a specific architecture layer. In our case, we're looking at business. The application and data would be both information technology as well as information systems. And of course, the infrastructure is the infrastructure, network, facilities, etc. You know, the grids in your data center and so on. So it is also common to find organizations modeling in a, let me sort of boil this down. They're modeling not in a standard language that has its own symbology, notation, nomenclature. To them, modeling is a bunch of PowerPoint slides with boxes and arrows, and it's whatever notation they prescribe. And it's one-dimensional. It's on PowerPoint, maybe Visio. They don't use an enterprise-wide tool like Eris, or if it was on the if it was on the information technology side, they would use the unified modeling language, etc. So you, sorry, go ahead. Someone had a question? Comment or? Okay. So So the purpose of this project is to boldly survey the approaches, concepts, and principles used for enterprise modeling, analysis, their strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons, and to develop a method, which basically what I've developed in the spring off of my models and methods, working collaboratively with my class in the spring, was a process maturity assessment model that used to be a requirement that you guys had to develop it. And I thought, why not work off my methods and models, which are industry standard, and then let's develop a model using that as guidelines, best practices, and have the students drive the development of the model that now we use for Project 2. So this is the gist of Project 2. So let me go down. So here are the instructions. Develop a tool, a set of survey questions, application prototype design to assess the modeling maturity of one or more enterprise architecture layers. Your modeling maturity assessment tool may address some, if not all, of the following topics, okay? So the tool is already completed. Number 3, a research paper, components, title page, project background information. There is a standard Word template, so you don't have to worry about trying to devise, well, what type of format should I present this in? So here's your submission template. But let me get down here to the enterprise maturity assessment. I would like to go over the CMMI version 1.1, which is the basis for many organizations that want to achieve maturity in business process architecture, information systems architecture, and information technology architecture. But let me go to what the students developed. And then I will explain what you guys have to do in terms of how to use this model. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So what I did was I developed a staging model. Could everyone see my screen? I'm going to sort of kind of blow it up a little bigger. Okay. So let me do a little more. Okay. So basically, if you know any models that are like this, that they're staged progressive, as you move from the lower level to level 1, 2, or 3, this is what the integrated model of the CMM structure is for its staged model. But then also there's a continuous model, which is not staged, and it is a different approach. So here we go. Here you initiate the enterprise architecture assessment. In this case, we're looking at the business process side of the house. Level 1, it's non-existent. In other words, the client does not have, and this is where you have to go out and I had students apply this to their own company, because many students that were taking this class in the spring with me were in positions of enterprise architecture, and they had actual projects that they could apply this to, like Nationwide Insurance. So Nationwide Insurance, non-existent. Okay, that's status. So this is ground zero. Level 1, initial and informal. So yes, nationwide does fit the profile of a level 1 when it comes to process architecture maturity. In this case, we're talking business process architecture. They have text-based documents that note what, how, where, and why. They have some Visio models. They have some PowerPoint models and so on. Again, not noted in any sort of standard nomenclature like event process chain or business process modeling notation. So level 2 is semi-structured, where you do have, instead of just having an informal initial, some documents here, there, and so on, level 2, you have coordination. You have like a governance group. You have coordination between the various functional groups, say your product development, customer relationship management, quality assurance, and so on. So you have governance. Another aspect would be change control. When there's changes to the business process architecture, for example, if you made a change, say in your purchase price variance process, well, what is going to be the impact, if any, to the processes that represent cost accounting, represent perpetual inventory counts, and so on, general ledger, and so on and so forth, procurement. So this is why business process models in EPC or BPMN, this is why they are so important, because you could truly have points of integration, and you could have points of integration to information systems that will be used to basically execute a certain request you have, an app that you triggered, a web service, and so on. So semi-structured, governance, change control, their models have a little more greater maturity. They may not be in EPC or BPMN. They may not have a standard business enterprise architecture framework. Like, for instance, I'm using that portion of Zachman or TOGAF. And then level 3 is your enterprise architecture is detailed, documented procedures, technical reference models. In level 3, you are quite matured. They may not all be in EPC or BPMN, and if you throw technical models in that represent your ISIT in the form of UML, they may still be, some may still be on Visio or maybe PowerPoint. Well, in this case, Visio, but they're really not using on those Visio models true notation, standard notation. But the point is, it's documented, okay? Nothing is left undocumented. There's a rhyme and reason. We understand the relationships. If we make a change in purchase price variance, what the ramifications would be, either plus or minus, technical risk, business risk. And then we have managed and measured. So if I take level 2, if I take level 3, because I mentioned governance, and now level 4 is if I have a handle on my business processes truly representing the way I do business and truly integrated to the information systems that I need just in time with the right functionality of applications and so on, and there's an underlying information technology structure, the database management system. I have a series of engineered systems that are clustered and so on. Then I could really define key points of metrics, But that's all based upon what data will I collect, so I could do analysis and I could turn that into, quote, metrics. And level 5 is you are on a continuous trend of optimization. Let me make a key point on the word continuous, okay? In level 5, you are constantly not just sticking with the status quo because it works, but you are completely going back to the business strategies, the business model that henceforth contains these strategies. And you're constantly ensuring that your enterprise architecture, which includes your business, your information systems, your information technology architectures, that they in fact are aligned to one another. Information technology architecture is the enabler to information systems architecture, which provides levels of efficiency, automation, let's use that term, but processes also support the information systems architecture must support the business processes that have been deemed as being effective, that they do align to the way we do business now and the way we intend to do business, so we can distinguish ourselves from our basis of competition in the marketplace. Fancy phrase for if I am, say, Bausch and Lomb, and I'm Johnson and Johnson's, we're both in the industry of producing contact lenses, solutions, et cetera, but we have a different set of business strategies. Our business models are different. So with this said, so this is a maturity assessment model. Now let me go here, the enterprise maturity assessment model. What I did was, in order to help define these levels, I basically helped define what the maturity description is. Is it specific to all domains? No enterprise architecture, infrastructure model, and so on. Initial informal enterprise architecture process underway if it's level 1. And as you see, this verbiage here will parallel to my processes, my architecture for my business, IS and IT, my architecture development of my information systems. Here I'm transcending in the UML, and my supporting information technology, ensuring business linkage, that you align your information technologies that enable your information systems that provide you greater levels of efficiency, automation, to a set of business processes that are constantly effective. And they're constantly being optimized as the business changes. And then level 3, same thing, I repeat it. Now, with this assessment maturity model, you will go to a client, probably as my students did in the spring, their own company, because that's why they were put into this program. They may have some initiatives. If you don't have, quote, your own company that's currently working on this, maybe you may, you could do some research on a particular company, and exactly you could learn through third party exactly where they are with their maturity levels as we speak of business, IS, and IT architecture, those 3 pillars that make up an enterprise architecture. So let me pose a question. How many of you guys have projects, or your boss has said, hey, I want you in this program because, you know, I would like you to do this for me, for our organization, or you're already in roles of responsibility of actually doing architecture. Can someone provide me some feedback? In other words, are you currently in a role with your company as it pertains to enterprise architecture where you could go to your boss? I've been working with for a number. Perfect, Josh. Okay. So Josh, with that stated, you could probably look inward to the company you work for, because I'm sure that, again, with your experience, and probably carve out an area where you could apply this assessment maturity model, and you could give them the strengths and weaknesses per those levels, and then help to put together some sort of mitigation plan for them. So there has never been a formal enterprise architecture program. Okay. So Josh, maybe an assessment, an overall assessment, let's call it a preliminary one, would be something that would help you, that would help your company, your organization, for them to realize, well, at least we have some starting boundaries. Now, Josh, what do you think about the recommendations? Perfect. Josh, if you need help, if your project team, if we decide, if your project team decides to assist you with your organization, please, I'm more than willing to help you guys. Perfect, Josh. Okay. And Douglas, do you have any experience? What's your current role with your organization?
Good evening. I'm an ICT director. I'm just saying if we can introduce enterprise architecture in our organization, but we haven't had a formal EA program. We are just maybe having this as a new program in our company.
Okay. Well, looking at the 6 project teams, I'm sure there's a member on that team that is actively, like in Josh's case, actively developing architectures, either information technology, the information systems, or business, etc. So then the team should decide exactly, well, how would they like to put forth their efforts? Should we go with the company that Josh works for, say his team, to help him? Or if members on your project team are basically, they have zero activity going on in their organization, they're not responsible for architecture, whatever facet, business, IS, and IT, then I would recommend third-party research in order to look at an organization, which then you could leverage this third-party research in Project 2 and bring it in to Project 3 to basically note your improvements, your intended process improvements, and then actually model these intended improvements in EPC or BPMN. So that's what I would recommend. I'm sure that on the 6 project teams we have, I am sure that each project team has a member where their organization is struggling with this, or they need a starting point. Like in Josh's case, his organization, this would be good for a starting point, just to do an overall assessment and give them the boundaries from where to begin, the starting point. And then, let me see. And then, Jameer, your question was, what happens if you don't have access to enterprise architecture leaders? How do we do this project? So I interpret that question that in your organization, are you referencing your organization that you work for and that you don't have direct access to the individuals that are responsible for architecture? Okay. Then let me suggest, if your project team decides to go with your organization, if you think your organization has a need, then this is what I suggest. Number one, your company's paying good money for you to go through this program. So your justification to your company or to your boss would be in terms of return on investment. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Same as Josh. Okay. So, but for your internal organizations, you could still go to them and say, I'm in this program, which they're probably aware. Can I help to talk to key subject matter experts in the area of architecture and perform some sort of cursory assessment based upon a industry standard maturity model? 9 times out of 10, or 99.9%, your boss would be delighted and put you in contact with the right people. So does that sound like a good approach? I know in the spring, there were some students on project teams that were basically in the same area, but they were a minority. Do you think that's a good idea to approach your boss and say, I'm in this program and I would really like to help the organization? Can my team do a maturity assessment on where we are with our enterprise architecture program? Would that be a good plan to do? Or the other option is do third-party research, and then you can carry that third-party research into the third project. Oh, yes. In that case, when you say reference letter, you mean a letter that introduces myself, what the program is, but specifically, is there a possibility that Jamar could, and his project team, could do an initial assessment, a maturity assessment, and then I could explain the mechanics, a short letter. Okay, great. If you send me the name of your boss and so on, and name of company, so this way I make it personalized, and I will send it to you. I will send it to you for a preview. Any changes you think that are necessary, because you know your environment better than I. And then I could send an email to that individual. Does that sound good? Okay. And then the fallback would be for a team to do some third-party research on the company in the same way that I had the example in Project 3 where it's Lockheed Martin, okay? And when I mean third-party, you have no direct access. You may have had some experience in your career working for a defense contractor, and so you understand the industry, like discrete manufacturing, and you understand the industry, and so therefore you know areas that you could go and get research readily. So, yes. Okay. So let me go back. Let me call this up. This is this CMMI version 1.3. Back in 1999, working at Lockheed, I've been associated with Carnegie Mellon since the early 80s, grew up with these models, and I'm a senior fellow with them. A fancy title that means nothing. But what you see here, let me ask the question. Are you guys familiar with the CMMI? Okay. Let me go back. Thank you. Okay. So basically, I wrote the solutioning piece, and I wrote technical risk management, quantitative measures, and so on, and project management governance, but governance and oversight. So these are nothing more than best practices, guidelines. They're not to be taken off the shelf and say, hey, this is who I am as an organization. No, they are guidelines and best practices where you as an organization will benchmark, in this case, requirements management, or it could be requirements development. You will then benchmark these process areas of the